and welcome back. In the first half of today's discussion with Harish, we were talking about the essence of a brand, both the physical as well as he said, the metaphysicality of it. And then we also talked about specific brands, what makes them great, and touched upon the issue of what will it really take for brands from India to hit the global scale. And in order to continue, Harish, what I would like to bring this discussion on to is the biggest brand from India, Brand India itself. Two thoughts, and I'm again weaving it from our previous discussion. Okay, you talked about brands having the physicality and developing the metaphysicality. When you come to Brand India, you recognize that if at all, this is the center of metaphysicality as far as the world is concerned. And when you have such a strong metaphysical presence, parts of which have permeated world thought, Sanskrit, be it yoga, the whole spirituality bit, which has perhaps given rise to the Beatles, Apple, and what have you. Why is it that we want to translate a brand like India into a tagline?
Prakash, you're now shadowing my angst. Okay, this is my angst.
So,
what you've said is so right.
I've developed this thing of passing on my angst to you.
Taken. Okay. If you ask me, this is the excitement of India. And this is the excitement of being able to brand India. We have it all. And you showcased it in your initial comment when you really said that, hey, listen, this entire business of metaphysicality, we're the capital of the metaphysical. Now, why can't we transition it into across the world market? Because everybody has learned from us, everybody is learning from us, but can we also brand it? Can we also monetize it? I think we need to be doing it. We need to be doing it very, very vocally, strongly. And I think Brand India needs to stand up and be counted. So as a political entity, we are being counted today. But as a cultural entity, are we being counted as yet? As a food entity, are we being counted? Can we actually look at our various offerings, our myriad offerings that we bring to the party? Green, for instance, we talk so much of green. We have got 2027 coming, Panchamrit goals, etc., embraced. But pretty little is happening on the ground. India, incidentally, can be the capital of the green movement in a big, big way. And I think grabbing one item like green is going to count for us. Because if we are really that metaphysical capital of the world, we should grab what is going to be futuristic and what is most important for us. Today, money is not important. Businesses are not important. Nothing is important as is green. The ability to, breathe clean air is so difficult in most parts of the world. Climate change going the way it is, and the quality of air we breathe, the water we drink, everything that we eat, it's about quality of that. So can India become the capital of being the green champion of the world? I know we can. Do we want to be? I don't think so. Are we attempting to be? Absolutely not. Are we going the way every other country has gone? Yes. Are we blindfolded in the way we are doing it? Yes, we are. Not only blindfolded, even hands-tied.
I won't even say blindfolded or hands-tied. I would say we seem to be following the herd mentality.
Absolutely.
Because the only way India will succeed is if we do it our own way.
Yeah.
And that will happen if you stop following the presence of what has been laid down and instead create your own road to it. And that goes for branding too.
Absolutely.
But if you want to basically get Indian culture to move, have we really even tried it? It's happened, by osmosis. It's happened on its own by serendipity, but it's not really been a conscious effort. Whereas if you look at it, British culture, BBC, the British councils, American culture,
Absolutely.
the American edifices around. Why even look so much at France? All of them have invested in exporting their culture.
Absolutely.
And perhaps the country which has done it the best is Korea.
Yeah.
It's not by accident that
Absolutely.
K-pop and Korean
Absolutely.
films have taken over.
Absolutely.
It's been a 10 plus year investment on the part of the government. Somehow or the other, again we are boiling down to believing that it's the physical part of it which we need to invest in,
Right.
not these subliminal efforts which kind of get the idea of Indianness abroad, which I think is a property which is just waiting for the world to adopt. The ones who have exposure have adopted it in the past. So again, I think there's an opportunity
Absolutely.
for us to look at brand India also in a different
I
way.
agree, Prakash, because one of the biggest things that the Indian government needs to attempt, and attempt hopefully soon, is to get this business of taking culture, food, attitude, green, and make it a global campaign and have outreach programs which are really solid. We do these, small little piddly food festivals in the capitals of the world and come back and tom about it, but that is not it. Uh, Anything that we need to do can't be cosmetic anymore.
Or tactical.
Yeah, or tactical. It needs to be strategic and it needs to be grassroots level oriented to hit the entire country in a big way. You quoted the US and its outreach. When I was growing up as a kid, as a 5-year-old kid, I still remember going in Delhi. I used to live in Delhi and I used to go to this USIS
I used to
center,
do it in Calcutta.
and I used to read Span magazine out there. And Span magazine was a total propagandist magazine of the West. And guess what? Right next to that, there used to be the Russian Soviet Center, where I used to go as well. I was a member of both libraries. And out here, there would be Soviet propaganda. I'm not saying brand is propaganda, but the point is...
But brand is propaganda, come
outreach. Oh, not propaganda.
Brand
Because
is propaganda.
Propaganda is hollow, Prakash. Propaganda is hollow because it really talks without strength. Whatever I talk about India, I should be able to talk with strength.
So
Every time you meet an Indian, you must be able to go out and say, I met an Indian. An Indian is this. Who is an Indian? And that Indian must be met. And that Indian, actually, there are 3 kinds of Indians. I won't go into it because, it's a longish bit of theory from what I have seen. But simply like to say that we need to have one Indian insight, one Indian mindset, one Indian ethos, one Indian purpose. And the purpose of India should be to say, I rise above it all. I want to green the world completely. I want to reverse climate change. Maybe.
by the way, just on the propaganda bit, why I said a brand is propaganda is because it's not overt propaganda.
Yeah.
It's still
subliminal.
getting its message.
It is. The message goes out.
And in nation branding,
Yeah.
what you're seeing across the globe, a lot of companies are translating it into overt propaganda.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's why it's not
Yeah,
working.
that
And we need
doesn't
to be
work.
learning from that. But where I disagree with you, how can India be one? Yesterday I was with a group of executives who had come in from Australia, and we were kind of talking about what to do in India. And they said, I'm trying to struggle to find out what is the descriptor of the Indian market.
Yeah.
And could only tell them, would you go to Europe and try to define Europe in a single word?
Yeah.
And you realize we have more languages
Yeah.
than them, maybe we have more people than them,
Yeah.
and we certainly have much more variety in cuisine than
Absolutely.
them.
I
We have
agree
much
with
more variety in dressing.
Absolutely.
So why are you even looking for that one way
Yeah.
of picturizing India?
I agree with you. To an extent, India is a thought. And as many thoughts as we have in our mind at any given point of time, at this point of time, you and I possibly have 850 and odd thoughts swimming in our minds. Each of those thoughts is a brand. So the brand is Bata, the brand is Tata, the brand is my uncle who lives in Mumbai, the brand is someone else who's a human being as well. And all these myriad brands live in our heads. Actually, not one thought, but myriad sets of thoughts, all going in hopefully the same direction. So I think defining India in one word, very difficult. We mustn't ever attempt it even.
Or allow it to happen.
Yeah.
Okay, let's conclude. It's been a great discussion, but I want to tie all of it together. We started from brands, the essence of brands. We talked about the role of Indian brands and what they should aspire for. And then we came into Brand India. And somehow or the other, when we come into Brand India, it always boils down to this is what the government should do.
Yeah.
And I don't think that the government is the only custodian of Brand India. Each and every citizen is. The reason Japan as a brand is the cleanest nation, one of the cleanest nation, is because world over the news that every time Japanese spectators come to a stadium, be it in Qatar or anywhere, they clean it up afterwards.
Absolutely.
That's much more stronger for their brand. And as citizens, we have a role, and certainly corporates have a role too.
100%.
If what you and I said, that US is the sigma of all these brilliant brands put together, that's what Indian corporates would also do.
Absolutely. I agree with you, Prakash. In fact, I have a parting thought on this. My thought is that I do believe we brand India wrongly. Most of the time, we tend to say made in India. Now, made in India, I do believe is wrong nomenclature. It is non-human nomenclature. This nomenclature made in India means that this watch was made in the geography of India. Because what is India? India is a political geography. I would like to change it. And my suggestion very clearly would be that we must, from now on, really say India made. Why India made? Very simply, it is when you say India made, it is made by the proud Indian to the extent that it's made with the care that an Indian can give. It's made with the love that an Indian can give. It's made with the expertise that an Indian can bring in. And I correlate it totally to Swiss made. Switzerland says Swiss made. I think Switzerland has cracked its branding act perfectly. When you think Switzerland, you think a small set of things, and it's cracked it. I think India, instead of made in India, we need to be doing India made.
You know, the Swiss made part of it, Switzerland cracked it, Chile, which was nowhere in recognition as far as wines is concerned.
Including the chocolates, the Chilean chocolates.
But for what they did for wines is amazing.
Yeah.
The unknown wineries got together, and
Absolutely.
the wines of Chile over the last decade or so is number 3 or number 4 in the globe.
There you go.
But compare it with us. It started with Infosys branding India separately in Davos. And since then, it's almost become a poster for every Indian corporate to go over there.
Absolutely.
And present themselves.
Absolutely.
Just imagine if the entire ITS industry went together and promoted, done in India. If the manufacturing industry said this is the Indian prowess, what difference it would make.
Absolutely.
I think branding is a collaborative effort. And maybe business needs to think what they are going to do to promote brand India. And therefore, your last guidance for them.
I think businesses must become much more representative of what India is. Businesses need to buy into the India story firstly by themselves. I don't think Indian businesses have bought into the Indian story enough.
Internalized
it. And once you internalize it, once it becomes a part of your DNA, you tout it with pride in everything that you do outwards. India is a pride statement. The old line, which I have grown up with, is in the old days, 30 years ago, people would say, India happens. India happens. But today, we say, a happening India. Have each of our industry heads bought into the India story, married it into the DNA of their organizations, seeped it into the veins of every one of their workers so intrinsically that we can make India a solid mega brand out there in the future. That would be a point to consider.
Harish, an enormous amount of thought and, consideration, especially amongst young as well as middle-aged professionals today, is about building their personal brand. Okay. So let's ask you, as the brand guru, what has it taken for you to navigate through your own journey from being a professional brand expert, managing a plethora of brands, to being in this position where you are effectively the voice of branding in the country?
Okay, Prakash, firstly, I'd like to say I'm going to peep into you, okay, and say that, you and I started together and we worked together at the same company from T. So, Prakash, you moved from T to tech to teach. And guess what? The one thing I've missed is the tech bandwagon. And I think, you're a 3T guy. Just to say.
So you branded me.
I branded you. Let me talk about myself. One thing I'd like to say that I've never ever consciously branded myself. And that is something very, very important. Because a lot of people tend to say that, hey, you handle brands, so obviously you're a brand. But the point is, you must never consciously brand yourself. The moment you do it, I think you're doing injustice to your own brand persona. One important thing that I've always believed in, that a brand must be who he, she, or they is as a human being. In the sense that, I get people coming to me and saying that I want a personal branding put together for myself. Can you help me? I do a complete due diligence and then I say no. Because, most of these people come to you because they're wolves and they want to look like sheep. A brand must have integrity in it. I keep telling them, if you're a thug, please brand yourself as a thug.
That's a good brand to have.
It's an excellent brand to have. And I give one example. Veerappan, the dacoit and the poacher, is one of the biggest brands that come out of India when it comes to the rustic. Okay, he even compared to Che Guevara at times in an overseas context. Look at Che Guevara himself, for instance, or look at Fidel Castro for who he is and what he represented over a period of time. Look at Putin. I mean, at the end of the day, Putin is Putin because Putin is Putin. I won't go beyond that.
No politics.
Yeah, no politics. So the thing is, each of these brands are represent very solidly who they are. If you're a thug, be a thug, or call yourself a thug. If you're a wolf, don't go out there and say, I want to be a wolf in sheep's clothing. Because that's not branding, that's lack of integrity. One of the biggest items that is the start point of branding is integrity. If you don't show integrity, you don't become a brand. You become a brand, but you don't consider to be a good brand. So essentially, I think you must get others to talk about you. You must never talk about yourself. That's extremely important. So let me tell you what I did when I started this company of mine some 23 years ago. Coincides with my teaching years at ISB. I started my company and I started teaching at ISB in those days. If you look at it, when I started this company, I won't take the name because it'll be sounding like a tout. This company I started with just two people. And what did we say? We said, I have always been a corporate person. I don't want to tout myself. Ouch, that's very difficult in the world of consulting. No website, no brochures, no RFPs. You don't participate in RFPs because it's a kind of a tout. No tenders. We do government work, but you don't tout yourself. What is the meaning of that? People tend to come in and say that we want you to come and talk to us, make a presentation. No, sirs, we don't make presentations. Why? Matter of philosophy. We don't, work happens. I mean, even that happens line, which means to say business happens. Now, when you said that, it is a marketing googly as well in some ways, because, there are 5 guys who come up to a company and make a presentation, a pitch, etc. And there's the 6th one who doesn't come. They want to run behind the 6th one. Okay, that's crazy. That happened by happenstance. But there's certain philosophies. So when you're zero solicit, the second philosophy we brought in is, I never talk about any client that I worked upon or with. Neither is there any listings to say that these are the clients you worked with. What happens is, this kind of creates a kind of a mystery, and that mystery creates a bit of a history, and that history gets them to talk to other people, and maybe when clients talk about you, you become a brand. So to that extent, I think last point I want to say is, a brand is about integrity. Have that integrity, you'll create a brand. But these kind of brands happen only after 20 years of working on it. Instantly, you want to be a brand, you have to do all the nasties.
No, so great. Integrity, great. I would love that again and again and again. As the starting point of a brand, solidity and mystique are the 3 points which you said.
Yes, and the 4th one I'd like to add is showcase your soft underbelly as well. Because the guy who showcases his soft underbelly is trusted that much more than the guy who says, I am a solid tortoise. Yeah. I have no soft underbelly.
Absolutely.
All of us have soft underbellies. Oh my God, my soft underbelly represents my belly.
Thank you, Harish. It was a pleasure having you over here.
Thank you, Prakash. My pleasure being here.